Breaking tonight. While Donald Trump spent months publicly threatening to seize Greenland, floating the idea of purchasing it, hinting at economic coercion, and refusing to rule out military options, Canada was doing something far quieter and far more strategic. No threats, no ultimatums, no televised bravado. Canada arrived with a diplomat, a desk, and a long-term plan. Last November, Julie Croteau stepped off a plane in Nuuk, the capital of Greenland. She is Canada's acting consul there. Her office is not a gleaming diplomatic fortress. It operates out of a modest, red, gable-roofed timber house in Nuuk's Old Town, temporarily sharing space with Iceland's consulate. It is understated, almost invisible to the casual observer, and yet it may prove to be one of the most strategically important diplomatic postings Canada has established in a generation. This is Canada's Arctic Gambit. Canada saw the Arctic storm coming. Ottawa first promised to open this consulate in late 2024, before Trump returned to the White House, before his renewed interest in acquiring Greenland escalated into a diplomatic standoff with Denmark, and before the Arctic became the focus of intense global attention once again. In other words, Canada moved early. The consulate was originally scheduled to open in November. Severe Arctic weather caused delays, but Croteau was already on the ground, doing the kind of work that rarely makes headlines. She began mapping key contacts across Greenland's government, business sector, and Inuit communities. She studied local politics. She learned who actually holds influence. She listened more than she spoke. That is what real diplomacy looks like. It is not press conferences or viral sound bites. It is contact lists, coffee meetings, quiet introductions, listening sessions. It is knowing which questions to ask and which ones not to. In her first interview since taking the post, Croteau described Canada's presence as entering a more intensive phase. That phrase matters because Canada's relationship with Greenland and with Denmark is not new. It stretches back decades. But until now, Ottawa managed it at a distance, primarily through its embassy in Copenhagen. Now, Canada has eyes and ears in Nuuk itself, and that changes everything. Why Greenland matters more than ever. To understand the weight of this moment, you need to understand Greenland. Greenland is the world's largest island. It sits strategically at the top of the Atlantic Ocean, controlling critical sea routes that connect Europe, North America, and the Arctic. As climate change melts sea ice, those shipping routes are becoming increasingly navigable and increasingly valuable. Beneath Greenland's ice and rock lie significant deposits of rare earth minerals, materials essential for modern technologies, including renewable energy systems, electronics, and advanced defense systems. In an era defined by supply chain competition and technological rivalry, those minerals are geopolitically explosive. But Greenland is not just territory on a map. It is home to roughly 56,000 people, the majority of them Inuit. It exists within a complex political framework, self-governing in many areas, but still formally part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Independence movements are active. Economic development debates are ongoing. Cultural preservation is central. And now, external pressure has intensified. Trump has repeatedly described Greenland as essential to American national security. He has floated the idea of purchasing it. His administration has refused to fully dismiss military options. Greenland's government has responded clearly, "We are not for sale." Into that moment, Canada walked in, not with an offer to buy, not with threats, but with partnership. That distinction is not minor. It is the entire story. Partnership versus pressure. At the reception marking the opening of Canada's consulate, Greenland's foreign minister spoke plainly. She described the new mission as an essential bridge to deeper cooperation, particularly in securing peace and sustainability in their shared Arctic region. The language was revealing. She spoke of trade, of transport links, of education exchanges, of cultural cooperation, of sustainable development, of Arctic security. That is not the language of a government feeling coerced.
That is the language of a government that sees opportunity and sees a partner it trusts. Trust is a scarce resource in geopolitics. It cannot be demanded. It must be earned. Canada appears to understand that. This is about people, not just power. It would be easy to frame this solely as a geopolitical chess match between Washington, Ottawa, and Copenhagen, but that would miss the deeper reality. This story is about people. Former Greenlandic politician Tilly Martensen has visited Canada's north more than 10 times. She has traveled to communities such as Iqaluit and Clyde River, as well as major cities like Montreal and Toronto. She understands the cultural threads that connect Inuit communities across the Arctic.
Her message to Canada has been clear: be ambitious. Not just in government-to-government talks, but in real exchange. Artists, musicians, filmmakers, educators, entrepreneurs. She has pointed out the striking linguistic similarities between dialects spoken in Greenland and parts of northern Canada, so similar that hearing them side by side can feel almost uncanny. That shared heritage matters. Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami, which represents Inuit across Canada, has already signaled expectations for the consulate. Inuit voices must be included in diplomatic outreach. Promises made in a 2022 agreement to improve mobility between Inuit communities in Canada and Greenland must be fulfilled. Mobility is not symbolic, it is about reconnecting families and cultures separated by colonial-era borders. It is about restoring links that predate modern nation-states. Croteau has stated that Ottawa wants tangible progress on this front, not vague commitments, but timelines. That signals accountability built into the mission from the beginning. The bigger strategic pattern. This consulate does not exist in isolation. Canada has also announced plans to open a consulate in Anchorage, Alaska, the American Arctic Gateway. Consider the geographic symmetry. Greenland on one side, Alaska on the other, the two bookends of the North. These are precisely the regions where American strategic pressure is most visible and where Canada's Arctic interests are most exposed. This is not coincidence, it is coordination. Canada is also preparing to assume the chairmanship of the Arctic Council in 2029. That body is the primary intergovernmental forum for Arctic cooperation, focusing on environmental protection and sustainable development. By learning from Denmark's current leadership, Canada is thinking several years ahead. Strategic patience is not flashy, but it is powerful. An unexpected consequence of American pressure. There is another layer to this unfolding story. For years, relations between Greenland and Denmark have been strained. Controversies, including deeply troubling historical reports about Danish authorities' treatment of Greenlandic women, have left scars. Yet Trump's aggressive posture appears to have pushed Greenland and Denmark closer together. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen has taken a firm public stance, rejecting any suggestion that Greenland's future could be negotiated without Greenland itself. She has insisted that Greenlandic representatives sit at the table as equals in discussions involving the United States. That symbolism matters. Observers in Greenland have described this moment as signaling a new era in their relationship with Denmark, one marked by coordination rather than distance. Canada fits naturally into that emerging alignment, not as a dominant power asserting control, but as a partner reinforcing stability. The human impact of rhetoric. There is something else that deserves attention. Croteau has emphasized that Trump's comments have real human implications. It's easy for outsiders to treat geopolitical disputes as abstract, lines on a map, strategic resources, naval routes. But for Greenlanders, this is home. When a foreign leader publicly discusses acquiring your country as though it were undeveloped property, it is not theoretical. It affects how safe you feel. It affects your sense of sovereignty. It raises questions about whether your culture and autonomy are respected.
Some Greenlandic voices have expressed fear about what might come next. Concerns about racism, about disregard for indigenous rights, about instability. These are not exaggerated anxieties in a region with a long colonial history. Canada's physical presence, a real diplomat in a real office asking real questions, sends a different message. You are not alone. You are not invisible. You are partners. Presence matters. It signals commitment. Two competing visions for the Arctic. What we are witnessing is more than a diplomatic episode. It is a clash of governing philosophies. One vision treats Greenland as a strategic asset to be acquired. Another treats Greenlanders as partners to be engaged. One disrupts Arctic stability with threats and spectacle. Another builds stability through institutions and relationships. Canada's approach does not trend on social media. It is not announced with fighter jets or billion-dollar ultimatums. It is announced with a modest consulate in a timber house in Nuuk. But quiet does not mean weak. Sometimes it means prepared. Canada's long game. Canada understands the Arctic not as a frontier to conquer, but as a shared region requiring stewardship. Climate change is rapidly reshaping it. Shipping lanes are opening. Resource competition is intensifying. Russia remains active. China has declared itself a near-Arctic state. In that environment, presence is policy. By establishing itself directly in Greenland, Canada signals that it intends to be an active, constructive player in the region's future. This is not about outshouting Washington. It is about outlasting volatility. If American policy shifts every 4 years, Canada's value as a steady partner increases. And in geopolitics, reliability can be more powerful than dominance. The Arctic's future is being written now. The Arctic is no longer peripheral. It is central to energy transitions, to defense planning, to climate strategy, to indigenous rights, to global trade routes. Greenland sits at the heart of that transformation. Canada's move into Nuuk may look modest today, but history often turns on decisions that seem small at the time. A consulate opened early, a relationship built patiently, trust earned before crisis peaks. While others posture, Canada builds. While others threaten, Canada listens. And in a region defined by ice, patience may prove to be the warmest currency of all. The story of Canada's Arctic future is just beginning.